Hello, friends, and welcome to this very special Thursday football show. I am Anthony Florio, your host, joined by good old MF Michael Fletcher and Michael Bullock. We're going to be previewing the New Year's Six football games, and we'll also be talking about Week 17 of the NFL and only the games that have playoff implications. Um, we're just going to go into those, not going to pay much attention to the non-implication games. So with all that being said, let's dive right on into the New Year's Six, which starts tomorrow night, and it's going to be the number 8 USC Trojans squaring off against the number 5 Ohio State Buckeyes in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. This will be at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. We're going to have Bob Wischusen, Brock Heward, and Allison Williams on the call, and the spread currently favors. Just give me 1 minute here. All right. Ohio State, 7.5 point favorites. Okay. So Ohio State favored by 7.5. Ohio State and USC started convincing cases for inclusion in the college football playoff at the conclusion of their conference championship winning seasons. The Big Ten champion Buckeyes and Pac 12 winning Trojans may not be in the playoff, but their meeting tomorrow night in the Cotton Bowl Classic carries its own special aura. USC and Ohio State share extensive postseason history. They met in 7 Rose Bowl games from 1955 to 85, at which time the Trojans scored 3 of the wins in their current 7-game streak against the Buckeyes. Two programs last faced in 2009, 3 years prior to Urban Meyer taking over as head coach at Ohio State, and before two-time national championship winning coach Pete Carroll left for the Seattle Seahawks, setting in motion a chain of events that resulted in the midseason firings of two coaches, Lane Kiffin in 2013 and Steve Sarkisian in 2015, that led to Clay Helton taking over. USC has found stability in Helton's first 2 full seasons. The Trojans have back-to-back double-digit win seasons for the first time since 2007 and 8, won their first Pac-12 championship since 2008 this year, and in the Cotton Bowl Classic, seek a repeat of last season's thrilling finish. USC capped the 2016 campaign with a Rose Bowl win over Big Ten champion Penn State. The tumult at USC prior to Helton's tenure stands in stark contrast to Meyer's stint at Ohio State. He came to Columbus in 2012 with 2 national championships already to his name from his time at Florida and a perfect season at Utah. Meyer enjoyed immediate success with the Buckeyes, going undefeated in his first season and winning the first college football playoff in his third. Cotton Bowl Classic marks Ohio State's first game at AT&T Stadium since winning the championship against Oregon in January 2015. Ohio State may not be playing for a national championship, but an emphatic Cotton Bowl Classic win puts a fitting punctuation mark on the Buckeyes' season. Doing so is a tall task, though USC features a talented front seven, including standouts Cameron Smith and Uchenna Nwosu at linebacker, with breakout performers Rasheem Green and Christian Rector on the line. Opponents have not had much success containing an Ohio State rushing attack, averaging 249.4 yards a game. At 732 yards rushing, veteran quarterback J.T. Barrett complimented running back J.K. Dobbins and his 1,364 yards. Running back Mike Weber provided another 608. Likewise, containment of the run game plays a central role in the Ohio State game plan. On his way to 1,486 rushing yards this season, Jones surpassed legendary Trojan names Mike Garrett, Lendale White, Reggie Bush, and O.J. Simpson to become the 5th leading ball carrier in program history. Jones is the cornerstone for an offense averaging 34.5 points a game, with an emphasis on run-pass balance. Quarterback Sam Darnold came alive in the back half of the season with 14 touchdown passes against just 3 interceptions in SC's last 7 games. The emergence of wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr., who set a Pac-12 championship game record 146 yards receiving on December 1, adds another weapon alongside Deontay Burnett and Tyler Vaughns. Cotton Bowl Classic may not be the playoff, but the players involved and the stakes surrounding it give this matchup its own significant feel. This is very tough. But then again, I think all 6 of these games are going to be very tough. But as far as this one goes, I got to go with Ohio State. I mean, they're 7.5-point favorites. They've had great success at AT&T Stadium, winning the national championship there a couple of years ago. It's going to be one hell of a game. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's got potential to be a 5-star classic. And I'm going to go with Ohio State to win. High-scoring game, 38-31, Ohio State over USC, in what I think would be the greatest Cotton Bowl Classic game you will ever see. So nothing more to say. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. USC, Ohio State, renewing a rivalry. So many times they've met in the Rose Bowl in yesteryear. But now, Cotton Bowl Classic in Jerry World. Oh boy, is this going to be fun.
And not only that, but this is the most compelling out of all of them. Yes, of course, we're going to be talking about the playoff and the whole 9 yards. But as far as the non-playoff, quote unquote, New Year's Six, this is the one that's got me intrigued. This is the one that I got out of all the games, this is the one that's got my vested interest. Because if you really think about it, you got 2 teams that were conference champions. Of course, the Pac-12 champions was USC. The Big Ten champions was Ohio State. And both teams have a legitimate gripe to say, hey, we deserve to be in the college football playoff. I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of naysayers about, Alabama and, them getting in. And we'll get into that later tonight when we talk about the Sugar Bowl, which is Bama versus Clemson. But at the end of the day, both these teams were really amazing, and the roads they had to get there was unbelievable. And USC, I thought their road was remarkable. What they had to do, they were the one team that nobody wanted it to face. They did not want to be played with, because after that one loss that they had, that pretty much knocked them right out of any hope of making the college football playoff. But after that, they made this huge run right at the end and was really powerful enough that I honestly thought the body of work that they did, the way that they won their conference title, I was like, they might get an outside shot at this. For Ohio State, I don't know how on earth it happened. I thought they should have been in the playoff. I'm sorry. I'm going to call it. Bama should not be in it at all. They didn't win no conference championship. Yes, they lost that one game, which went to the proverbial champion, Georgia. But for me, they lost to Auburn in the Iron Bowl. They didn't lose. They kind of got shellacked in that game. And then for them, they didn't win the conference championship, didn't win their conference division, and still got into the college football playoff. I was absolutely flabbergasted and not really happy at that moment. But for me, I'm sorry, I disagree with Anthony. I got to go with USC. USC, I think, is the more complete team, and thus they were so hot during the season that they were the one team that nobody wanted it to see in the playoff. I'm telling you, Ohio State, even though they had a really great performance in the Big Ten championship and are coming off a really major high and are probably ticked off for not making the playoff, the one team I was a little bit concerned about, that one game that I did not want to see Ohio State get matched up with, they got matched up with. USC can handle them offensively. They can handle them defensively. This is going to be a tight game. 31-28. USC wins the Cotton Bowl. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
All right. Well, man, Fletch, tell us how you really feel. I mean, yes. Some people, people, and yes, I do agree. I think Ohio State should have gotten in because the college football playoff, because, hey, they were the Big Ten champs. Alabama didn't win one. But it is what it is. And I think Ohio State is they're going to be playing with a huge chip on their shoulder because they feel like they should have been in the college football playoff and not Alabama. While USC looks like a complete team and could definitely give Ohio State some fits here, big time. But in the end, I think Ohio State has a lot of motivation because of them not being in the college football playoff. So I'm sorry, Michael Fletcher. I have to totally disagree with you on that. I'm going to go with Anthony Florio. I'm going with Ohio State to win this one. So yes, I'm going with Ohio State to win this one. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So let's just move on to our next New Year's Six game.
Excuse me, and that will be the Fiesta Bowl, 4:00 on ESPN on Saturday. First of two games on Saturday. University of Phoenix Stadium, Glendale, Arizona. The number 11 Washington Huskies. The number 9 Penn State Nittany Lions. Dave Patch, Greg McElroy, and Tom Luginbill will have the call. And we have Penn State. 3 different spreads here. One has Penn State by 1.5, another has them by 2, and another has them by 3. So Penn State favored by between 1.5 to 3. So MF, Michael Fletcher, started off with you here. Washington, Penn State, featuring 2 of the best running backs in the game today. Myles Gaskin of Washington and Saquon Barkley of Penn State. Oh boy, is this going to be fun in the desert.
And this is going to be a very high-scoring affair because of the fact of, like you just said, the running game is going to be one of the big factors of this game. But I like Penn State in this matchup because of Saquon Barkley is one reason why. But also, I just feel like Penn State kind of really had a little bit of an unlucky this year. They looked really good with some of the teams that they had to handle with. However, once it got to some of the bigger boys, they just couldn't handle it. They couldn't run with Ohio State. That was unfortunate for them. Washington's a decent team, but I got to say this. I like Penn State in this one. I'm going to say 28-24. Penn State wins the Fiesta Bowl. So, Michael Bullock, I give it to you. Mike?
Yeah, sorry about
okay,
that.
yeah.
I forgot to unmute my mic. So yeah, I think the running game for Penn State is going to be the big key, especially with Saquon Barkley. I mean, what a season he had this year, and of course, so basically, excuse me. It's going to be the big key, and of course, Washington is going to rely on the passing game, and of course, so definitely it's going to be a really big game for both teams. So I got to go with the Penn State Nittany Lions to win this one. I expect. I expect Barkley to have a really big game running the football. So there's really nothing more to say. Flory, what's yours?
Okay. The Fiesta Bowl matchup comes with a full dose of deja vu for both Penn State and Washington. Penn State's program and Washington's coach. Number 9 Penn State is returning to the area, if not the exact site of one of its greatest bowl triumphs. The 14-10 victory over then number 1 Miami that brought the Nittany Lions their second consensus national championship after the 1986 season. They have won all 6 previous Fiesta Bowl appearances. Coach Chris Peterson of number 11 Washington is back on the turf, where his creative juices overflowed in a scintillating 43-42 overtime victory by Boise State. Peterson's previous head coaching gig over Oklahoma to cap the 2005 season. Excuse me. That game was made even more memorable when Bronco running back Ian Johnson dropped to one knee and proposed to girlfriend Chrissy Popadix on national TV after scoring the game-winning two-point conversion in OT. Like everything the Broncos tried, that worked out too. Penn State was a defensive stop here and a scoring drive there from a possible berth in the college football playoff, and shot at another national championship at back-to-back losses to Ohio State and Michigan State after the Nittany Lions reached 7-0 and number 2 in the AP poll doomed that. They have lost 3 games in the last year and a half by a total of 7 points. Washington had a perfect home season and reached number 5 in the AP poll before an upset loss at Arizona State played a large part in keeping the Huskies from their second straight appearance in the national playoff. That loss to the Sun Devils, like Penn State's victory over Miami over 29 years ago, was played at Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe. This will be played at the Arizona Cardinals University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale. Junior quarterback Trace McSorley, junior halfback Saquon Barkley, and a quartet of 40 catch receivers have led Penn State to an average of 41.5 points and 453 yards a game. The Nittany Lions ended the bowl season 7th in the FBS in scoring, and McSorley provides a double threat, having passed for 26 touchdowns and rushing for 11 more. Barkley, whose resume includes a dynamic Rose Bowl performance a year ago, has shown the ability to beat a defense in all sorts of ways. He has 1,134 yards and 16 touchdowns rushing and 47 pass receptions for 594 yards. 2 touchdowns among his 15 kickoff returns, and also threw an option pass for a touchdown. Barkley had a school record 348 all-purpose yards and career-high 211 yards rushing in a 21-19 win over Iowa. Quarterback Jake Browning, running back Myles Gaskin, and consensus All-American receiver kick returner Dante Pettis have provided the impetus for the Huskies, averaging 44.3 points and 411 and almost 412 yards a game. Browning threw for 2,544 yards and 18 TDs and holds a career touchdown record with 77. Ranks third in the FBS with a 68.8 completion percentage. Gaskin has rushed for 1,282 yards and 19 touchdowns, 9 rushing touchdowns in the final 3 games of the season, and has a school record 43 rushing touchdowns and 47 total. Pettis has 62 receptions for 721 yards and 7 touchdowns, and he is at his most explosive when fielding punts. He had 4 punt returns for touchdowns this season to set the NCAA Division I career record with 9, breaking a record held by Texas Tech's Wes Welker and Oklahoma's Antonio Perkins. Pettis had a touchdown return in the first 3 games of the season. Pettis is expected to play after suffering an ankle injury in the regular season finale against Washington State. Each team has scored at least 30 points 10 times this season. The teams have met twice. Most recent, the Nittany Lions' 13-10 victory in the 1983 Aloha Bowl. Penn State also won the regular season meeting in 1921. Last time Peterson was here with Boise, he used the hook and ladder play to tie the game as regulation time expired. A wide receiver touchdown pass for an overtime score, and Johnson's Statue of Liberty play for the game-winning 2-point conversion. Penn State is well aware. I agree with you guys. I got Penn State winning as well. This is going to be another high-scoring affair. 31-24. I'm going to go Penn State over Washington. Should be a great one. Excuse me. Now on to the other Saturday night matchup. 8 o'clock on ESPN, the Orange Bowl. My favorite bowl game. Because they got the sweetest and most delicious trophy you will ever see. With that glass bowl that's full of several oranges. Probably hundreds of oranges in there. We're going to see the number 6 Wisconsin Badgers and the number 10 Miami Hurricanes. 8 o'clock on ESPN. Steve Levy, Brian Griese, Todd McShay, and Molly McGrath is going to be joining them. So, double sideline reporters for that one. Todd McShay and Molly McGrath, along with Steve Levy and Brian Griese. And Wisconsin is a 4.5-point favorite. So, Michael Bullock, we started with you. It's a proverbial home game for the U because they're going to be at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Wisconsin may be the favorite by 4.5, but let's be realistic. They're going into a proverbial lion's den because it's a home game for the U.
Oh yeah, it's a pervert. They're going into the Lions Den, all right. I mean, it's a proverbial home game for the Miami Hurricanes. Yeah. And the thing is, for Miami, I mean, during the season they made a run at the college football playoff, but it came to an end at the end, and same thing with Wisconsin, but they basically both these teams have something to say. I mean, but yeah, Wisconsin does come in as the favorites, but they're going into Hard Rock Stadium and basically as the visiting team. So, and the key thing for Miami is, of course, the defense. It produced 30 turnovers this season, and because of all that, they had the new sideline swag known as that turnover chain. And it's led, of course, that defense is led by their defensive back, Jaquan Johnson, who had a team high 4 interceptions and 2 fumble recoveries during the season. And defensive back Michael Jackson also picked off 4 passes, while 16 different Hurricanes have come up with a takeaway. So that's something that the Wisconsin offense is definitely going to have to deal with. While the Badgers defensively, they're not bad either. They're first nationally in total defense, second in rushing defense, and third in scoring defense. So I got the feeling this could be a low scoring game here with this with the defense good on both sides. Of course, for Wisconsin, they're led by All-American linebacker TJ Edwards, cornerback Nick Nelson, safety Dakota Dixon. So yeah, so I got a feeling this is going to be a really good game here, a defensive battle. But in the end, I think the home field advantage the home field advantage is definitely going to factor in. So Miami, I think they're going to win this. My final score is going to be 20-17. So Florio, it is yours.
Yeah, it's the U. It's got to be the U. I mean, how humiliating would it be for the U to lose a proverbial home game in the Orange Bowl against Wisconsin? I mean, not that Wisconsin's a bad team. It's just that this is a home game for you guys. Huge. So, I mean, Bullock got a little bit into the detail. There could be a much greater contrast between the meat and potatoes reputation of Wisconsin and the blinged out style of Miami. But know this, the Badger defense much more quietly came up with 26 turnovers and had 6 players earn first or second All Big Ten honors. Of course, among them, TJ Edwards, All-American linebacker first team, cornerback Nick Nelson, and the safety Dakota Dixon. And they're going to be trying to stop Malik Rozier, who struggled in consecutive losses after the team's 10-0 start. He was a combined 29 of 63 in losses to Pittsburgh and Clemson, the latter coming in the ACC championship when Rozier threw 2 interceptions. He will not have his 2 best receivers, wideout Amon Richards and tight end Christopher Herndon IV, who are each out after knee surgeries. Wisconsin has looked to sophomore quarterback Alex Hornibrook to play more than a game manager role. Passed for 200-plus yards in 5 regular season games, but he tossed an interception in 10 of his 13 starts with 15 picks overall, tied for the 5th most in the country. His final pass in a 27-21 loss to Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship was an interception on 4th and 20 at the Wisconsin 47. Hornibrook has an outstanding supporting cast, including tight end Troy Fumagalli, an all-star right side of the line guard Bo Benschwazel, tackle David Edwards, star freshman running back Jonathan Taylor. Taylor, who finished 6th in the Heisman Trophy voting, 3rd nationally with 142 rushing yards a game, 1,847 rushing yards, needing 79 to break Adrian Peterson's freshman record of 1,925. The one knock on Taylor, he lost 5 fumbles. With both teams coming off losses, it's hard to say which squad has the greater motivation. Although Miami gets the benefit of being at home, and is playing in the Orange Bowl for the first time since the 2003 season. Wisconsin is playing in its 16th consecutive bowl game, longest streak in the Big Ten, and Chris said his players, especially his seniors, know how to balance focus and fun. Another great matchup, but you have to go with the U. Wisconsin may be favored, but you have to go with the U. For one, it's a proverbial home game, and two, I got a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of that turnover chain. I'm not sure if it's going to be as much of an under siege job, because you remember when Miami put Notre Dame under siege and pretty much cost them their playoff dreams. So I think that turnover chain will be the difference maker in what I will consider a 24-17 win for the Miami Hurricanes, the U, over the Wisconsin Badgers. And I cannot wait for that because, like I said, the Orange Bowl is my favorite of the bowl games because that's the most delicious trophy you will ever see, with those hundreds of oranges nearly overflowing out of that bowl, that big glass bowl. And I cannot wait to see that thing up close and personal one more time. So, I love oranges. So, 24-17, the U over Wisconsin and MF. I mean, we know how much you love the U. We know you're a big supporter of the U next to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
But, man alive, a home game against Wisconsin at Hard Rock Stadium for the Orange Bowl. How do they not win?
You know what? I have to say this. If you were Wisconsin on December 2, you were probably happy that you made a New Year's Six bowl. But then when you found out that you're playing Miami in the Orange Bowl in the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, you probably was spitting kittens at that point because, like you said, that was a proverbial home game for the U. How could the committee do that to Wisconsin? I mean, that is such a raw deal for them. But like we said, and like we said all season long, look, Miami is one of the biggest revelations this year. They got the swag back. You know what? Going into that Notre Dame game, it had that feel of the convicts versus the Catholics again. We all know how that played out, but you got that attitude, that swag that you talk about. The brainchild of Manny Diaz. He was the creator of the turnover chain, that Cuban link, that 5 pounds of Cuban link, and almost 3,000 diamonds of orange and orange and green that adorns that 5 pounds of Cuban link. That makes the turnover chain. And yes, that chain's been coming out at least 24 times this year. 4 times because of Michael Jackson. A few times, from their secondary. Their secondary is a bunch of ball hawks, man. I mean, that's how unbelievable they have. If you haven't seen it, let's talk about the 2 primetime games, the 2 big games that they had that were really influential for Miami, which was the game against Virginia Tech, and then the big one against Notre Dame, where they literally put Notre Dame under siege, made Notre Dame overrated, and basically that if anybody thought that Notre Dame had any hope or prayer of making the college football playoff, those things dashed in a heartbeat with nobody in just no doubt. So at the end of the day, Wisconsin does have a loaded team, and they are dangerous. So Miami's got to be a little leery about Wisconsin. They love to run the football. They're a good rushing, pounding team. They will pound the rock on you. If Miami lays back and try to relax, you're gonna get smacked in the face, guys. And I'm gonna be heads up with you guys. Even though I got Miami winning, Wisconsin's gonna try to jump out and take this crowd out of the game legitly early. There's gonna be a good Wisconsin crowd there. They're gonna want to jump around on the Hurricanes on that afternoon or on that evening. Miami's just going to have to ride the wave early. Wisconsin's going to come out. They're going to try to punch Miami in the mouth. You just got to have to roll with the punches. And then, Malik Rozier, he's got to establish. The running game's got to be established. The passing game. Offensively, they lack a little bit. There's a lot of moments where they are really good, and then they go and they sputter in spurts. They cannot do that with Wisconsin, because Wisconsin will pick you apart, and they're gonna want to force 3 and outs. You need sustained runs. That means the running game's gotta look good. Malik Rozier's gonna have to look good by DK dunking. Make those plays that you need to make, and don't worry about the defense. The defense is got that turnover chain in their minds. They're geared on that. Who's going to be the one that's going to get the chain? They're going to be ball hawks, guys. They're going to want to come in, establish a tempo, and they're going to rough up Wisconsin's offensive line. That's what they're going to need to do early. They got to make it, dictate the pace. They're going to need to get the Hurricane fans to get in that game early, because if Wisconsin tries to come in, because if Wisconsin tries to settle down, that's where Wisconsin could possibly steal the Orange Bowl and win the game. So definitely a great matchup to say, but like with you guys, I'm totally in agreement. I got the Miami Hurricanes winning the Orange Bowl. Nothing more to say, Anthony. It's all yours, my friend.
And now to the 3 games on New Year's Day. First, we're going to start it with the Peach Bowl at 12:30 on ESPN. The number 12 University of Central Florida Knights squaring off against the number 7 Auburn Tigers, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Dave Fleming will be working the game with Brock Huard and Allison Williams. And Auburn opening up as 9.5 to 10-point favorites. The Auburn Tigers hope that the SEC championship game would be the first of 2 trips to Atlanta's new Mercedes-Benz Stadium this season. Auburn was aiming for the college football playoff title game, though, and not the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Instead, Georgia ended the Tigers' national championship hopes with a 28-7 victory in Atlanta on December 2nd, and now Auburn is spending New Year's Day in Atlanta with much less at stake. The Peach Bowl is a consolation prize for number 7 Auburn. However, that isn't the case for number 12 Central Florida. The Knights, winless just 3 seasons ago, are major college football's only unbeaten team, and in the New Year's Six Bowl for the first time as the best of the non-Power 5 conference teams. UCF won the American Athletic Conference with a wild 62-55 double overtime shootout against Memphis on December 2nd in what appeared to be third-year head coach Scott Frost's final game. Frost, though, is sticking with the Knights for the Peach Bowl before moving on, along with most of his assistants full-time, to Nebraska. Former Missouri assistant Josh Heupel, who quickly was named to replace Frost, will be a spectator for the Peach Bowl, spending his time in the Mercedes-Benz press box observing his future team. Some rumors also had Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn potentially moving on, but he signed a 7-year contract extension with a reported $49 million to stay with the Tigers. UCF comes into the Peach Bowl as the nation's top scoring team at 49.4 points a game, while Auburn is ranked 9th defensively at 17.3 points. The Tigers never allowed more than 28 points this season, while the Knights never scored fewer than 31. There's no questioning Auburn's credentials, but that isn't necessarily the case with UCF. The Tigers beat number 3 Georgia and number 4 Alabama late in the regular season after an 8-point loss at number 1 Clemson early in the year. Auburn lost the rematch with Georgia, of course, but in that game, SEC Offensive Player of the Year, Kerryon Johnson, who had 1,320 rushing yards and 19 total TDs, was severely hampered by a shoulder injury. With the time off, the junior tailback is healthy now, and he gives the Tigers a potent weapon on the ground to go with the passing of sophomore quarterback Jarrett Stidham. UCF has a prolific sophomore quarterback to match Stidham, though. Mackenzie Milton ranks number 5 nationally in passing touchdowns, 35, number 2 in efficiency at 185, number 2 in completion percentage, 69.2, number 5 in total offense, 358 yards a game, and number 6 in passing yards per completion, 15.24. Stidham, a transfer from Baylor who ranks 2nd in the nation in career passing efficiency, is 2nd in the SEC in passing yards, 28-27, and leads the SEC in completion percentage at about 67. Since the creation of the college football playoff, the Group of Five representative is 2-1 in New Year's 6 games against Power 5 competition. Number 21 Boise State defeated number 12 Arizona 38-30 in the 2014 Fiesta Bowl, and number 18 Houston defeated number 9 Florida State 38-24 in the 2015 Peach Bowl. Auburn is 3-0 against UCF, with all 3 wins coming between 1997 and 1999. UCF has never played in the Peach Bowl, while Auburn's appearance in the event, which is marking its 50th year, will be its 6th. The Tigers defeated Virginia 43-24 in December 2011. Adrian Killins, the Knights' leading rusher, with 762 yards and 10 touchdowns, gave the Tigers a little bulletin board material when he said that Auburn hasn't seen any speed like we have. The Tigers didn't jump into a war of words, though. Auburn safety Steven Roberts said, "I give them credit. They're a great team. They have good speed, but we come out and play. Speed and stuff and all that don't matter to us as a defense. We still have 11 guys that are going to play. Trash talk is a lot, but it's not much." This is tough. I mean, I know Auburn. I know it should be Auburn because they're 9.5 to 10-point favorites. But I'm sorry, man. As much as I love Auburn, as much as I love Lindsey McCormick, and I do, I have to go with. I got to go with UCF. I believe in this team. I mean, they made me a believer. I mean, their final 2 games, that Eastern Division game against South Florida was a game for the ages. And I thought it couldn't get any better than that, but it did. When they beat Memphis in that unbelievable American Athletic Championship, which was far and away the best conference championship game of this conference championship season. No game had more Shakespearean drama than that one did. And I think these kids have what it takes to have yet another Shakespearean drama classic with Auburn. I thought Auburn was on its way to something special, but after that Georgia game, I know they'll have Kerryon Johnson back, and that's a big deal, but you hear what I just said. The non-Power 5 team has won 2 out of 3. So I believe they can. I think UCF has what it takes to not only hang with Auburn, but beat them. So I know this is probably going to be a disagreement, but I don't care. Central Florida is going to win the Peach Bowl. And I say they will do it by a final score of 35-28. Behind Mackenzie Milton and that great receiving core, this team has what it takes. Central Florida, I believe in you. You made me proud of you. Those final 2 games against South Florida and Memphis. Those 2 games made me a believer in you boys. So, nothing more to say. Central Florida wins the Peach Bowl, 35-28. MF, I know this is probably going to be a disagreement, but like I said, this is my story. I'm sticking to it. UCF, Auburn, the Peach Bowl. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be great.
At least one of us feels that way. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that UCF is getting this great moment, and they've had an incredible season, undefeated season. As a matter of fact, a lot of people thinks that they're going to be very high and they could make a huge run. At the end of the day, though, I just don't know if it's going to be enough. Look, Auburn's a great team. Auburn is definitely going to be a tough team, and they're going to be something to be, something to behold. But I kind of have to disagree with Anthony, and the reason why is that I just think Auburn's just in another level. And don't get me wrong, the SEC championship game, they lost that game was because I think they took Georgia too lightly, because they rolled them up. Because of the first time that they faced them, they crushed them and got blown, and they blew out Georgia and straight up bushwhacked them. There's going to be a couple of weapons there and everything else, but I just don't think they can handle the pass rush. if they try to play the same way that they played against Georgia, it's going to be a massacre. This is going to be a blowout. And I'm sorry, Anthony, but that's what I think is going to happen. I think Auburn, it's got all their players back, the guys that were really influential in that game. And you might think that this little engine this miracle story is going to continue everything else. I'm going to say it straight up, and I'm going to say this emphatically. Auburn is going to crush UCF. Not only crush them, embarrass them. 35-17. It's going to be a beatdown. It's not going to be close. Auburn is going to flex its muscle and take UCF. They're going to make them believe that they deserve to be in the fight, but then they're going to rip their hearts out, and they're going to show them ruthless aggression with no mercy and no remorse. That is going to be, because it's going to also be one other thing. You're talking about an SEC team against a mid-major. So obviously the SEC is going to tell them, we're the best conference in all college football. You better not let us down. So there's quite a few messages that's going to be thrown out here in this game. Yes, you got the David versus Goliath, and I get that. And unlike other teams where there's a vulnerable team that probably going to lose over another team, this is not a vulnerable team. Auburn is a machine. They are well-nurtured, well-compact, great coached. Defensively, they fly to the ball. Offensively, they could be lethal. The thing is that they made some mental lapses along the way, especially in that SEC championship game. They're not going to make those mistakes again. Like I said, they're more healthier, they're more ready, they're focused. And plus, on top of that, they already put a lot of pressure on themselves about saying, well, UCF, yes, you did great, but you've never faced a team like us. So they're going to put a lot of pressures on themselves to deliver. And let me tell you, normally 9 times out of 10, when you put that much pressure on you, if you're a really good team, an elite team, you answer the bell. Auburn will do that. 35-17, Auburn's going to crush UCF. And I mean, this will not even be close. Mike Bullock, I give it to you.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm going with Fletch in this one. I mean, I'm going with the Auburn as well. I mean, they got all their players back. I mean, yes, I mean, it's been an unbelievable season for UCF. I mean, especially with winning that conference title in a wild double overtime shootout. And of course, I mean, and the thing is the coach Scott Frost going to be focused on this game? Because the thing is, after this, him and his assistants are going to be moving on to Nebraska, and like you said, UCF. I mean, they've never faced a powerful team like Auburn. I mean, Auburn. I mean, they're getting some of their key players back, and yeah, they do. They did lose in the SEC title game to Georgia, but they took Georgia lightly. And Gus Malzahn's it's gonna make sure that there's no repeat of that. Especially for Auburn, when you got the Offensive Player of the Year in Kerryon Johnson with over 1,300 rushing yards and and 19 total touchdowns. He's going to have a big day, big time. So I agree with Fletch. Auburn's going to win, and this is not even going to be close. I'll do you one better, Fletch. You said 35-17. I'm going to say 42-17. Auburn is going to crush. They're going to squash the UCF Knights. They're going to basically, you know what? You had this magical season. Now we're going to rip that heart out of you. We're going to rip that heart so hard. We're going to twist it. And we're going to show no mercy on you guys. And heck, even if the score is like that, I say run it up some more. Show them they can't hang with the big boys. Auburn squashes them, and it's going to be Ryback squash time. Florio, it's yours.
Yeah, I knew there would be a disagreement on that. But gentlemen, it's time. It's playoff time. And we started off with the granddaddy of them all, Michael Fletcher's favorite bowl game, the Rose Bowl game, from the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, 5 o'clock on ESPN on Monday. The number 3 Made in Georgia Bulldogs, the number 2 Oklahoma Sooners, Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Maria Taylor, Tom Rinaldi. Georgia, 1.5 to 2 point favorites. MF, it's only fitting we start this with you because, this is your bowl game. It's the Rose Bowl. It's only fitting I got to lead off on my favorite bowl game, the Orange Bowl. But this one's all you, my man. It's the Rose Bowl. I know how much you love it. And Georgia and Oklahoma, who's gonna punch that first ticket to the national championship game in the granddaddy of them all on Monday afternoon?
Well, I thought about this long and hard, and I started thinking, what's going to be the game? What's going to be the team? Who's going to win it? With you, Oklahoma. I just don't see how Georgia, if it goes into a shootout, Oklahoma wins. Oklahoma has an offense that's absolutely built. And I mean, they are the most scariest team in this Final Four. I'm going to be real honest with you. If one other team, the only other team that I could see opt them possibly, we'll get into that in a little bit. But Oklahoma just has so many weapons. They got the Heisman Trophy winner. That's going to be a factor. The run game is absolutely stout. They got a very good the defense is liability. That's where Georgia might be able to do. D is not that great, but again, I don't think Georgia can generate enough offense here to hang with Oklahoma. If they do, maybe they have a small shot. But remember, Oklahoma's been known to put over 40, over 50 points at a time during their games. Times where they dwelled in the 60s. So they are meant to run the ball. They will move that ball up and down the field. Georgia just needs to neutralize them. No, I just don't think so. Too many weapons, too many factors. Plus, you got the Heisman Trophy winner, Baker Mayfield. Yeah. Dogs are going home. In the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, with the glitz, the glamour, and everything about it, the beauty of that game, it is going to be it's going to be them circling the wagons, firing their guns, and celebrating, and it's gonna be, like we said, Boomer Sooner, Oklahoma winning the Rose Bowl, advancing to the national championship game, 41-17. 27 is my final score. Oklahoma wins.
Yeah, this is another one of my favorite bowl games, the Rose Bowl. I mean, the pageantry of the Rose Bowl. I mean, the history of the granddaddy of them all. I mean, we've seen a lot of great games in this Rose Bowl, and you got one right here in the college football playoff with two schools, especially one of them being historic. So, of course, Oklahoma winning the Big 12 championship, Georgia winning the SEC championship, and all I can say is what a debut for Lincoln Riley as coach. And that offense of Oklahoma is just so damn good. I mean, led by Heisman Trophy winner Baker Mayfield with 41 touchdown passes and passing for over 4,300 yards. I mean, and they got to go up against Georgia's defense, which is fourth nationally and giving up only 13.2 points a game. So, yeah, but that's really going to get tested against this high-powered offense, like I said, led by Baker Mayfield, but he's got some really good receivers, and yeah, so for the Bulldogs to win, they're going to have to try to generate enough pressure on Baker Mayfield, which I just don't see that happening. But Georgia's offense is good as well. I mean, they've averaged almost 35 points a game with that stable of running backs led by Nick Chubb. You got Sony Michael and DeAndre Swift, and they have the 10th most prolific rushing attack. And Oklahoma's defense, I mean, basically they surrendered at least 38 points 3 times in the regular season, but it has improved lately when they held holding TCU to 20 and 17 points in 2 meetings. So, I mean, the Sooners, they're gonna try to stop the run, and they're gonna force freshman quarterback Jake Fromm to beat them. So, I think that's gonna be the key in this one. But Oklahoma's too good. 42-27, Boomer Sooner. The Sooners advance to the national championship game. So, nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours.
For number 2, Oklahoma, number 3, Georgia, the chance to etch their names into the rich history of the Rose Bowl game in Monday's 104th edition also makes a step towards a national championship. The Rose Bowl, college football's first postseason game, also hosted the first ever college football playoff semifinal, New Year's Day 2015. The playoff makes its return to Pasadena, pitting 2 programs with 1 appearance each in the long and illustrious history of the granddaddy of them all. Oklahoma earned its way into the semifinal with the Big 12 Conference Championship, its 3rd straight and 11th since 2000. The 2017 conference title also marked a successful debut for first-year head coach Lincoln Riley, who replaced Bob Stoops following a surprise retirement last June. For Riley, leading Oklahoma to the Rose Bowl for the first time since the 2002 season has a surreal quality. The Sooners' dreamlike run of the playoff included quarterback Baker Mayfield winning the Heisman Trophy with the 41 touchdown passes and 4,340 yards through the air, also ran for 310 yards and 5 scores. An obvious narrative ahead of Monday's semifinal focuses on Mayfield's response to a vaunted Georgia defense, which is 4th nationally at 13.2 points a game. Bulldogs rode that stifling defense to the program's first SEC title since 2005, a familiar formula for second-year head coach Kirby Smart, who is actually making his 3rd appearance in the playoff. Alabama's defensive coordinator in the 2014 and 15 seasons, the second of which culminated in a national championship. They do Mayfield owes his gaudy statistics in part to that unique style under Riley, as well as his own playmaking ability. But the quarterback also throws to a diverse corp of pass catchers, wide receivers Marquise Brown, Jeff Bidet, and CeeDee Lamb, tight end Mark Andrews, and running back Dimitri Flowers all caught between 23 and 58 passes with anywhere from 3 to 8 touchdowns among them and none going for more than 981 yards. Multifaceted run game featuring a trio of running backs in Rodney Anderson, Trey Sermon, and Abdul Adams. Oklahoma's variety will test their Georgia defense led by All-American linebacker Roquan Smith. But while the clash of Sooners offense and Bulldogs defense takes center stage, the opposite sides of the ball may shape Monday's contest. Georgia averaged 35 points a game, leaning on a stable of running backs in Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, and DeAndre Swift. They carried the load for the nation's 10th most prolific rushing attack. Michel credits the depth of the rotation for the Bulldogs' success running the ball. An Oklahoma defense that surrendered at least 38 points 3 times in the regular season showed improvement down the stretch, particularly in holding TCU to 20 and 17 points in their 2 meetings. Expect the Sooners to sell out on stopping the run, emulating the game plan Auburn successfully enacted in Georgia's sole loss of the season. The Tigers forced freshman quarterback Jake Fromm to pass the season-high 29 times while limiting the Bulldogs to 1.4 yards a carry. That first Auburn game was on the road, but Georgia got revenge on the Tigers in the SEC title game in Atlanta. Monday's game is played on a neutral field at the Rose Bowl Stadium, but after a hiatus of 74 years since the Bulldogs last appeared in the Rose Bowl, Georgia fans eager to make the trek to California could make it a de facto home game. But at the end, I got to agree with you guys. I got to go with Oklahoma. I think they're the better team in this, and I can definitely see them coming out of this one with the win. It's going to be a wonderful game, though. I say Oklahoma will win. I'm going to go 30-27, Oklahoma over Georgia. And now to the main event of the New Year's Six, 8:45 kickoff on ESPN Monday night. A rematch of the last 2 national championship games. The number 4 Alabama Crimson Tide, the number 1 Clemson Tigers. 8:45 on ESPN. Joe Tessitore, Todd Blackledge, Holly Rowe, and another reporter joining them. Laura Rutledge will be joining Joe, Todd, and Holly. And of course, Alabama is opening up as the favorites. They're opening up as 3-point favorites. So, Michael Bullock, I see you're ready to go. The last 2 national championships, 2 of the greatest of all time. Of course, the last one, the greatest of all. Do they have another 5-star Shakespearean drama classic in them?
I think we could. I think they do have another 5-star classic in them. I mean, after what we saw in the previous 2 national championship games from these 2, I wouldn't expect the same. I mean, I would expect the same. I mean, Clemson. I mean, it seems like they're primed to try to repeat as national champions, and of course, basically, the biggest difference this year compared to the previous 2 meetings is the absence of Deshaun Watson. So, but Clemson's current quarterback, Kelly Bryant, is finishing a stellar season as a dual threat, rushing for 646 yards and 11 touchdowns while completing 244, 362 passes for 2,670 yards and 13 touchdowns against 6 picks. But he has yet to be tested on the biggest stage. Alabama may hold an edge at the quarterback position, even though sophomore Jalen Hurts is coming off a subpar performance in the Crimson Tide's only loss of the season, which was, of course, to Auburn, which he completed just 12 of 22 for a season-low 112 yards. The Tide went scoreless in the final 28 and a half minutes, and Hurts was the target of criticism after the game, despite throwing for 15 touchdowns against 1 interception the entire season. So, yeah, so this is going to be tough. I mean, part of me is telling me to go with Alabama, while another part of me is telling me to go with Clemson. This is a tough one. You know what? I think Clemson can do it. I think Kelly Bryant's gonna have a big game, not just running, but running the ball as well, and is going to lead Clemson to victory. My final score, Clemson 30, Alabama 27. And what I think will be another 5-star classic game. Flory, what's yours?
Man alive. You heard MF earlier say he's not happy about Alabama being in the playoff. I'll be honest, I wasn't too thrilled about it either. I mean, Ohio State or USC should have been in this spot. But, it is what it is. I mean, there seems to be no alternate route to a college football championship, especially when recent GPS history indicates the road to the title with very few detours runs directly through either Clemson or Alabama. For the third consecutive year, Clemson will face Alabama in the college football playoff this time. In the semifinals, played Monday in the All-State Sugar Bowl at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. Winner will meet Oklahoma or Georgia for the national championship January 8th in Atlanta. The two previous Clemson-Alabama matchups were for the title. Alabama beat Clemson 45-40 behind a pick six and a surprise onside kick in 2016. And Clemson retaliated this year by rallying from an early 14-0 deficit to win 35-31 with a touchdown engineered by quarterback Deshaun Watson in the final seconds. The rubber match figures to be a test of steel. And even though Clemson had a superior regular season resume and assumed the top ranking entering the playoffs, Alabama was installed as a 3-point favorite. While that may have rankled the Tigers privately, in public they have been dutifully circumspect. Biggest difference this year compared with the previous two Clemson-Alabama meetings is the absence of Watson, who nearly rallied Clemson in the 2016 championship game and then engineered the winning drive last year. Clemson quarterback Kelly Bryant, like Bullock said, a stellar season, and he's yet to be tested on the biggest stage. And Alabama may have an edge at the quarterback position, even though sophomore Jalen Hurts is coming off a subpar performance in the Crimson Tide's only loss of the season, a 26-14 road defeat to Auburn in the Iron Bowl, in which he completed just 12 of 22 for a season-low 112 yards. Tide went scoreless in the final 28 and a half minutes, and Hurts was the target of criticism after the game, despite throwing for 15 touchdowns against one interception the entire season. Every part of me wants to go with Alabama in this game, but Clemson has been just so consistent, and I got this feeling. Alabama played a little shaky down the stretch. They honestly should have had 2 losses this season because they should have lost that Mississippi State game, but they lucked out and won that. And then Auburn, exposed them for the frauds that they are, and that's why they should not have been in the playoff. They only got in there because, well, let's face it, the committee just loves Alabama, and they feel that Alabama is best for business. It's basically like, certain guys in the WWE who don't deserve these opportunities despite getting them handed to them each and every time. Alabama, oh yeah, they got handed this big time. And MF, you're absolutely right. They don't deserve to be in the playoff. Absolutely not. But it's just that the committee, I guess, they're I wonder if maybe Vince McMahon or maybe Mr. John Laurinaitis was on this committee because, they went with the Vince McMahon mentality. They went with,
gosh, you had to bring that name up again.
Sorry, Bullet, but I'm making a point here. It's like one of them, or maybe, or don't. Who was the committee that overlooked this? The authority, for goodness sakes. I don't have a problem with the other 3. Clemson, Oklahoma, and Georgia, they all deserved it. But Bama did not. But the only reason they're in it is because of those dreaded words, best for business. Well, I not only have Clemson winning this game, but I hope and pray to God that Clemson wins this game and advances into the national championship game one more time. So I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to go with Clemson to win this matchup. I say Clemson gets it done, and I want to see Clemson stick it to Alabama, stick it to that committee, that authority-like committee, who obviously believes in the quote-unquote best for business mentality. Please, if it was us, we would go based on our merits of who are the best and most deserving teams, not who's best for business, not the sexy pick, if you will. So come on, Clemson. You did it once before. Do it again. And I want you to beat this. I not only want you to win this game, but I want you to blow these suckers out. That's what I want. I want to see a rout. I mean, if it's a 5-star game, fine. I love 5-star games. Don't get me wrong. But the reason why is just I want to see Clemson stick it to this committee and give them a big old, a big old middle finger. Maybe a double bird salute, a la Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it's going to be close, I'm sure. But I got Clemson winning it. I'm going to go with that same score from this year, 34-31. So Clemson wins. Rub that committee's noses in it. That best for business committee. Nothing more to say. MF, I share in your sentiments. Bama, they don't belong here whatsoever. Best for business always wins out.
Well, I know Mike Bullock went with Clemson. I know Anthony emphatically went with Clemson. No doubt about it. I'm sorry, guys. I got to go Alabama. Alabama's the complete team. They're better than Clemson. The only team I think that'll beat Alabama is actually Oklahoma. I got Oklahoma winning the national championship. That's my prediction. Bama, Oklahoma in the final. Oklahoma wins the national championship this year. I think Oklahoma could actually outlast and outrun Alabama. They're just too strong. At the end of the day, I think Alabama's the more complete team, and that's even though I love Clemson and I love what they've done this year, but really, honestly, Clemson really wasn't that tested this year. During the season, they weren't that major threat. There wasn't really a team that really gave them that much of a fit, except for that one game that they got tripped up in Syracuse. They inexplicably lost to them in the Carrier Dome. And other teams that were supposed to give them threats never really gave them much of any problems. Alabama, in the other hand, they kind of got worked over by Auburn, and yeah, them leading into the game was there was some easy games. There was some games where maybe they could have lost, and they did it, and they won in dominating fashion. And now here we are, saving a month to prepare for this game. A month to prepare. And plus, he's probably drilling it in these kids' heads about what happened to them last year. Losing that national championship the way they did. Guys, I hate it. I don't like it. But Bama's advancing. And they're going to play for the national championship. Best for business, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to say, fine. But at the end of the day, Bama's winning. And they're going to win it. And they're moving on. 31-28 is my final. Anthony, let's get into the NFL.
Week 17 of the NFL. Looking at this, of course, divisional games all the way. That's the only thing I dread about Week 17 is it's all divisional games. I really like those, mixed bag matchups, but because most of these division games are just awful, and a few of these games don't even have playoff implications, if I'm going to be real honest with you. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, trim the fat, as they say. And that's exactly what we're going to do here and now. So, fellas, what we're going to do, we're going to go rapid fire on on these non-implication games. So, Washington Redskins squaring off against the New York Giants. I got Washington winning. So, MF, who you got, Redskins or Giants?
I got the Redskins as well.
Bullock?
I got the Redskins as well.
All right. Another game with no playoff implications. The Green Bay Packers squaring off against the Detroit Lions at Ford Field on Fox. Redskins Giants in the Meadowlands at MetLife Stadium, by the way. So Green Bay and Detroit. MF, who wins this one at Ford Field?
I got Detroit winning the game. I just think they're more stronger than Green Bay.
Bullock?
Detroit Lions.
And I got the Detroit Lions as well. And the other and another non-implication game, Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. You can make an argument for this to be the Zonk game of the week. Michael Bullock, who you got? Bullock?
Oh, what was the game?
Houston and Indianapolis.
It's tough, but I gotta go with Indianapolis.
Disagree. I got Houston. MF?
Houston barely.
Yeah, Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Okay, another game with the non-playoff. I think this game doesn't have implications whatsoever. Dallas and Philly. I don't believe that has implications because Dallas is out and Philadelphia already has the home field locked up. So Dallas and Philadelphia. I don't know why, but I got a feeling Dallas might take this one only because I think Philly's going to be resting their starters. I just got this feeling. So I'm going to take a chance and go with Dallas because of that fact. So, MF, what do you say? This has.
I agree. There is no playoff implications. Everything's been wrapped up for Philly. They got everything. They are indeed resting their starters. So yes, I'm gonna go with Dallas as well.
Michael Bullock?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Dallas as well. I mean, like you said, they basically have everything wrapped up. I think they're just gonna start. I mean, the Eagles are just gonna start resting players. So Dallas wins.
All right, and that all those are from the early window. There's one other game I'm not sure about when it comes to is there implications or not. I'm going to need MF to back me up on this.
Okay.
Is the San Francisco LA Ram game, does that have implications or no?
There's no implications on that. The Rams are basically locked up. They even though they won the division, they cannot go any more higher. Maybe it's just for seeding, but no, they'll either be the 3 or the 4. That's the only implication there.
So technically, there is implications here.
Well, not necessarily. It's only just a seeding thing, but they can't get the first round bye. They can't get the home field, so no.
So we should just...
I consider it as a cutout, and just I'll say I'm going to go with the 49ers. I already know for a fact that the Rams are sitting all their starters, so I'm going with the 49ers for the win.
Bullock?
San Francisco 49ers.
And I'm going to go with the 49ers as well. Jimmy Garoppolo has been playing unbelievably. He's got this team playing well again. They're on a major hot streak right now, and I think they can steal one in the Coliseum because, you know, they're going to want to rest their guys. So give me the 49ers there. And now, MF, are there any other games that have non-implications that I missed? Or are all these others?
I would have to check the schedule, so just give me a minute.
Yes, because I want to be 100% sure that we don't end up talking about a game that didn't have implications that, you know, so I think
all right. So Detroit, Green Bay, no. Houston, Indy, no. Chicago, Minnesota, no. Well, New England, yes. The Giants and Redskins, no. Eagles and Dallas, no. Pittsburgh, well, that one does. This one does.
I think that
Let's
Chicago
see.
Minnesota
Hold
game
on.
implications because I think Minnesota's still playing for a first round bye. I think.
I think they clinched it though.
No.
That's why I'm kind of.
No, I don't believe they have.
Let me see. Saw them already clinched it, so that's why I'm kind of.
No,
I'm
I don't
kind
believe
of
they have.
on the fence here. So let's see. Minnesota. Let's see. A card. Um. Actually. uh, uh, Okay. So yeah, actually, you're actually right. As a matter of fact, the Rams game actually is implications.
Oh, okay.
The Rams game is implications. There's implications here. Yeah, because if the Rams win and the Vikings lose, the Rams gets the number 2 seed. They get the first round bye. So there's implications.
Okay, we're gonna have to get into that one then.
Yeah, we'll have to get into it.
Okay.
But all others are all basically they're all implicated from here on out.
Okay, all those other games do have playoff implications. Okay, so but we'll get through them as the best as we can. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna just bear with us for a minute. We're just gonna have a very brief pause here, just while we get our information ready. So those other games are all set. So now we'll just focus on the games that do have the playoff implications when it comes to the early window. So, and we're not gonna go in any particular order. So with that being said, let's start it off with our first game with playoff implications. The New York Jets squaring off against the New England Patriots at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. This game will be on CBS and our CBS affiliate WPRI 12. From Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Patriots huge favorites, 15 to 17 points. Excuse me. Jim Nance, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson, hello friends. They're going to be there, and of course, I know they've already met, and I believe it was New England came out on top in that one, if I'm not mistaken. So so the implications in this one are very simple. The Jets don't have any implications. The Patriots, however, do. New England has already won the AFC East. They've already wrapped up a first round bye. All they have to do is win this game. And with another win against the Jets, they will once again wrap up home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. Means the road to Super Bowl 51, or I should say 52 rather, will once again be going through Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. New England leads the all-time series 60 to 53 with a tie. Last year in Foxborough, they absolutely pounded the Jets 41 to 3. The Jets have not won in Foxborough since a AFC divisional playoff game in January of 2011, 28-21, but their last regular season win in Foxborough was in 2008 when the Jets beat the Patriots 34-31 in overtime. So 2008 regular season wise, overall was in that playoff game. So they met on October 15th in the Meadowlands, and the Patriots won that game 24-17. So this game, of course, for home field advantage for the Patriots. There's nothing left for me to say on this. I got the New England Patriots winning this game. Tom Brady, he's going off. There's nothing more to say. Road to the Super Bowl is going through Foxborough one more time. Patriots win in a laugher. Nothing more to say. MF.
Well, I do want to make one little indemnity here. When we did about the Rams, that's actually a correct thing that we did. There is no other clinching scenarios for them. Basically, we got nothing to worry about when it comes to the Rams. They have actually nothing to gain for.
Okay.
They won't be able to get the first round bye in that situation. So we were correct to do that. As far as this game goes, I'm actually going to say New England wins. They'll get the home field throughout the AFC. Nothing more to say, Michael Bullock. I give it to you.
Yeah, I got the Patriots winning this one as well. I mean, this one's not even going to be close. They're going to wrap up the home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs, and the road to Super Bowl 52 goes through Foxborough on the AFC side. So nothing more to say. Flory, what's yours?
And we move on to another game with implications. The Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers, Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta on the call. Pittsburgh, 7.5 to 11-point favorites. And for the Steelers, they've won the AFC North. All they have to do is beat the Browns and hope that somehow the Patriots get tripped up by the Jets. And if that happens, the Pittsburgh Steelers will have the home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. But they've already done what they needed to do. They won the division. They've also got a bye. So MF, what do you think? Is there a chance that Pittsburgh can steal that top spot, or is it going to go New England and then Pittsburgh?
Well, I mean, it's possible for Pittsburgh to steal it, because if the Jets, it's really depending on what the Jets do more than anything else. If the Jets really give New England a lot of fits, like they did in the Meadowlands, and there's also that revenge factor because of the fact that they felt like the referees kind of screwed them in that game. So they're going to want to take it out on New England and say, hey, we are the better team. We should have beat you boys the first time around. So, there's always that upset mentality. It's just, do they want to have the number one seed? Do they really want to, go through because of the fact that, do you want to go and possibly have to deal with a team like Kansas City again in the second round if they get into the divisionals? Or do you want to try to take your chances with Jacksonville, the number two? If you're the 2 and they're the 3, do you deal with Jacksonville? Is that a more easier matchup? I don't know. I mean, it really depends on what New England wants. It also depends on which wild card team comes out too. So, obviously Pittsburgh's going to want to win this game, at least to put some pressure on New England to win their game, or else Pittsburgh gets the one. So, without a doubt, we'll wait and see what happens there. But I got Pittsburgh winning because I just think that they just want to, for the one. They want the 1 seed, plus to see a little bit of NFL history, seeing in the 0-16 Cleveland Browns. We'll see what happens there, but nothing more to say. Mike Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I got Pittsburgh winning this one as well. I mean, basically, basically, I think they're definitely going to get that. They'll be the number 2 seed because we all think New England's going to beat the Jets. So, yeah. So there's really nothing more to say. Pittsburgh wins. Flory, what's yours?
Yeah, it's Pittsburgh. They lead the all-time series 71-58. They met on opening day in Cleveland. Steelers barely got by 21-18. The Browns have not won in Pittsburgh since 2003, and I think that's going to remain the same. So I'm going with the Steelers behind Big Ben and Le'Veon Bell and company. So I got the Steelers winning it. And the Browns will go 0-16. So nothing more to say. Let's move on to our next game with implications. The Chicago Bears squaring off against the Minnesota Vikings at the home of Super Bowl 52, US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis on Fox. Kevin Burkhardt, Charles Davis, and Pam Oliver will be on the call. And for the Minnesota Vikings, it's very simply win, and you've got yourself a first-round bye along with the Philadelphia Eagles. Road to the financial field in Philadelphia. The Vikings control their own destiny for that number 2 seed. All they have to do is beat the Chicago Bears for the second time this year, because they did so at Soldier Field back on October the 9th. Chicago with a win, 20-17. And just trying to get just waiting for some notes to come up on my end. But Minnesota, 20-17, they got by Chicago at Soldier Field. So, they have met in the playoffs. Okay, so I gotta fully look into that one. Chicago and Minnesota, and I believe it's the Vikings who lead that all-time series. They're playing for that first round bye. So let's see. Technical difficulties. I do apologize. So 59-51. 59-51 with 2 ties for Minnesota. And the Bears have not won in Minnesota since 2011. That's the last time. Vikings have pretty much owned the Bears at home since. So, Michael Bullock, I believe we started with you. Minnesota playing for that first round bye. All they have to do is beat the Bears. Easy enough, right?
I think this will be an easy one for Minnesota. Basically, they're just really good defensively, and with everything we see from Case Keenum this season, so yeah, this will be an easy day for the Minnesota Vikings. They will lock up that first round bye. So there's really nothing more to say. So, Flory, what's yours?
Yeah, I got Minnesota as well. And Bullock, don't forget, the game's in Minnesota. Vikings win. You know what that means. Woo! You know it, baby. That infamous Viking flugelhorn.
You know it.
It's gonna be in all its glory. Vikings easy win. I'm gonna go 38-10. Minnesota. Giving them that first round bye. and then we'll see where it goes. As they look to become the first team in NFL history to play the Super Bowl in their own backyard. and they're 11 to 13 point favorites, so there should be no problem. So Minnesota in a laugher. MF, Minnesota locking up that first round by or what?
Minnesota will be locking up the first round by, no doubt about that. You actually left a lot on the cutting room floor on this one. Yes, Minnesota does get in on a victory. However, some weird scenarios here for Minnesota to actually get the 1 seed. Not necessarily just that. They would need hold on. A little bit of a slow network going here. It should be right. Yeah, here we go. I got it. So Minnesota has is for them to clinch the first round bye. Not only do they could just win it outright, but if Carolina loses, they get the first round bye. If New Orleans wins, they get the first round bye. Or if the Los Angeles Rams win, Minnesota gets the first round bye. So Minnesota literally, if they actually need is just if New Orleans wins, if the Rams win, or if the Panthers lose, then Minnesota wins. They get the first round bye regardless. So it's very interesting. This is one of those interesting matchups more than anything else. But so Florio, it's yours. Minnesota wins, by the way.
All right. I believe that wraps up the early window when it comes to excuse me, the implications. Because I believe the rest of the slate, there are no implications whatsoever. So pretty much ran down the early window when it comes to that. So good afternoon game. Time there will be no Sunday night football game because of New Year's Eve festivities and the whole 9 yards. So, all right, first 4:25 game. It will be on CBS. We got the Cincinnati Bengals squaring off against the Baltimore Ravens from M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. Ravens win and they're in. That's all there is to it. Win and they're in. These two met on opening day as well, and the Ravens absolutely pounded the Bengals 20-0. Baltimore leads the all-time series 22-21, and in Baltimore, it's been a few years. Okay. It was in, let's see, 2015. 2015, the last time the Bengals won in Baltimore, 24-16. Ravens won their last year, 1914. So basically, for the Ravens, it's a win and they're in situation, and the spread looks good. For the Ravens, as they are 9.5 to 10.5 point favorites, and I have to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, they barely got by Indy, but I think Joe Flacco is due for a big game, and Mike Wallace and the whole 9 yards. So I say Baltimore beats Cincinnati, and Baltimore will lock up one of those two wild card spots. MF, do you agree?
Yes, I agree. I think Baltimore will get in. They'll get one of the wild card spots. There's actually some other scenarios that they can actually get in on. Basically, if Buffalo loses to Miami, or if Tennessee loses their game to Jacksonville, which, both games very possible they could lose. You never know. But yeah. I think Baltimore just wins it outright, gets their ticket into the postseason. Nothing more to say. Bullock is yours.
Yeah, I got the Baltimore Ravens winning as well. I mean, I think they'll definitely get those they'll get one of the 2 wild card spots. I mean, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So I'm just gonna give it to you, Florio.
Okay. Let me see. We do have a top 5 and leverage game of the weekend. Well, Dallas and Philadelphia, believe it or not, that game actually came in at number 3, which is beyond me. But say on that, I guess. So, now we're gonna get into the Anthony Florio Michael Fletcher game of the week right here. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars squaring off against the Tennessee Titans at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, and Jamie Erdahl will be on that call. By the way, for that Cincy Baltimore game, Ian Eagle, Dan Fouts, and Evan Washburn will be there for that. Jacksonville and Tennessee, they met back in week number 2, and it was Tennessee who put a whooping on Jacksonville, 37-16 in Jacksonville, which excuse me, one postseason meeting, but Tennessee leads the all-time series 25-20, and Tennessee won in Nashville last year, 36-22. That was, I'm not mistaken, and let me see, Jacksonville last won in Nashville in, I believe it was 2013. I believe the last 3 years, I believe Tennessee has won. So yeah, I believe that is correct on that. So Jacksonville has already won the South, and what they're playing for is between them and Kansas City, because they're right in that 3-4 hole. Tennessee is playing to get in, and Tennessee is 3-point favorites. So, final FPI top 5 game. This game came in at number 5. So, MF, on in, this is our matchup right here. Jacksonville and Tennessee. There's implications for both teams. Tennessee playing to get in, while Jacksonville, are they playing for seeding? Even though they do have, I think they control their own destiny for that 3. I mean, all they have to do is win to get that 3 spot. But what if they lose?
Well, in this case, Anthony, no, there is no implications for Jacksonville or for Kansas City. There is no seeding implications here, at least when it comes to this situation. So no, I believe that Jacksonville will be parked at the 3. Kansas City will be parked at the 4. I don't think there is no implications, and as a matter of fact, Jacksonville has already mentioned that they're going to be resting most of their starters. A lot of them will, some of them will be playing. Jacksonville has actually said they are not resting their starters. They will have their starters out in this game. So they're definitely rolling the dice, and they're not going to mess around. They're going to go for the knockout punch, and they're going to try to take Tennessee out of the playoff picture altogether. Tennessee, you better watch yourself. You guys might be in trouble. But I do believe Tennessee will win the game, though, because I think Jacksonville will rest their starters. I think they're going to treat it like a preseason game. I just got a feeling that it's going to be one of those type of situations. But Tennessee should win. If they do win, they're in. However, if Tennessee ties, Buffalo loses or tie, and the Chargers loses or tie, that gets them in. Or if Buffalo loses and the Chargers both lose, then Tennessee is through. So yeah, so basically Tennessee controls their own destiny. Just beat Jacksonville. If you don't, then you're gonna have to hope that Buffalo loses to Miami and the Chargers loses to the Raiders, I believe it is. Then at that point, then you get the scenario of Tennessee getting in. So we'll see. So yep. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I got Tennessee winning as well. I mean, because like you said, Jacksonville is probably going to rest their starters, uh, and Tennessee is basically like you said, they're fighting for their playoff lives. So, and Jacksonville, like you said, they're basically all set up with where they are. So, really nothing for them to play for. So, Tennessee, you win and you're in. So, nothing more to say. Florio, what's yours?
Uh-oh, we lost Anthony. All right. I'm trying to see what would be the next game then. I'm trying to see what would be the next game. Hopefully Anthony comes back quick. I don't know what happened. This unfortunate thing happens sometimes. I believe about Tennessee and Jacksonville. So let's try to get the next game, which would be Tennessee and Jacksonville was the next game. It's not Baltimore. Tennessee and Jacksonville was there. So it's not Kansas City and Denver.
Hey, Florio's back.
All right, cool. All right, go ahead, Florio. We were just thinking what game was going to be the next on the docket.
Yeah, what is that next game?
Isn't it Buffalo, Miami?
Yes, you're right. Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins. Michael Bullock started off.
All right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, for Buffalo, of course, they're fighting for their playoff lives. They're trying to make the playoffs for the first time since 1999, and yeah, and they basically need a win. And well, I don't know what the scenarios are. I mean, well, they need a win, and basically, they need to. And they would have to hope for a Tennessee loss here. I mean that a Tennessee loss and an LA Chargers loss. That's the only way that the Buffalo Bills can get in. So yeah, I mean, there's really nothing more for me to say. I mean, I think Buffalo wins it. I just think they're the better team. Uh, Miami, they're basically just playing for pride. So nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours.
Yes, so I do apologize for that brief little um, technical difficulty. So getting back to the Jacksonville, Tennessee game, in terms of team quality, FPI doesn't think the Titans deserve to be anywhere near the playoffs, and yet here we are. The model thinks Tennessee is the 21st best team in football going forward, or more than a touchdown worse a game than the aforementioned Chargers. Nonetheless, the Titans are in a more advantageous position than Los Angeles. Because Jacksonville has nothing to play for, Tennessee is favored in Vegas. But just because the Jaguars have nothing to play for doesn't mean they won't play well. It sounds like Doug Marrone is planning to mostly play his starters, and in a normal circumstance, FPI thinks Jacksonville is more likely to win that one. So I'm going with Jacksonville to win that one as well. I don't have a score, but I do have that. Now, getting back to this Buffalo and Miami, they met a couple weeks ago, and it was the Buffalo Bills who came away with a 24-16 win in Buffalo. And Buffalo has not won in Miami since 2015. They absolutely pounded the Dolphins 41-14. I'll never forget that. That was so fun to watch for me. And but last year, the Dolphins beat the Bills in Miami 28-25, and that's that story. So both teams, well, Buffalo trying to make the postseason for the first time in 18 years. I mean, they need to win, and they need a lot of help to do it. They need to win here, hope that the Ravens get tripped up by the Bengals. But if that doesn't work, they're going to need the Chargers to lose to the Raiders and the Titans to lose to the Jaguars. And, of course, ties also come into this scenario as well. I mean, if Buffalo gets a tie along with losses by the Chargers and the Titans, then Buffalo will be postseason bound for the first time in 18 years. So praying for a miracle. I don't know if they're going to get it, but they're 2.5 to 3 point favorites. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared of this game, because this game's in Miami, and you know the Dolphins are going to have revenge on their minds because of a couple weeks ago. But I got a good feeling about this Buffalo team. I mean, they took New England to the limits. They got screwed by the refs on a horrific call. It was a touchdown. I don't care what anybody says. That was a touchdown, and that changed the complexion of that game entirely. And, of course, New England won, and all was right with the world. So, very clear the refs had it out for us, but, you know, it is what it is. So, 2.5 to 3 point favorites. I think Buffalo can go into Miami and get it done. I think they'll win very closely. I say they'll win 20-17 and keep their slim hopes alive. So, MF, I know you're probably going to go with the Dolphins anyway, but for Buffalo, I mean, they need to win. Hope for a Raven loss to the Bungles. But if that doesn't happen, they need the Chargers and the Titans to both lose. And, of course, the ties also become important.
Yes, indeed. And this is a dangerous game because of the fact that it is the season finale for Miami, the last game of the season. On top of that, Florio, you might not want to hear this. Miami's going with the throwbacks again. The last time we wore the throwbacks, it was against the Patriots on Monday Night Football, and we all know what happened that night. It was upset city. Miami has worn the throwbacks. They have not lost a game. They're 5-0, and they could be 6-0 if they do win this game. And it's remarkable. Now this game was originally a 1 o'clock kickoff. They did move it to 4:25, which is, I don't know if I'm really happy about that as a Dolphin fan. I think I rather would have preferred the game starting at 1, because then Buffalo had to deal with the heat, the humidity, and all that stuff. Because if it's a 4:25 kickoff, the sun's already about to be setting. That means it's not going to be as humid or hot, so it kind of eliminates that weather advantage if you're a Dolphin fan. So, I mean, Buffalo, you're kind of lucky. Thank the NFL and the scheduling gods on that one. But and the thing is that I want to see what Miami does more than anything else. Do you want to go? How are you going to play this game? I think it's going to be very early is what we're going to see. If Miami sits back and let Buffalo dictate to the pace, then forget it. Buffalo wins and Miami goes 6-10 for the season. However, if they come out playing like they played against the Patriots, Florio, you ain't going anywhere. All you're gonna be going is riding the L train. Get your Metro card ready, son. You're gonna be riding the L train, and your Buffalo Bills will be written on the death note, because your playoff chances are going to be deleted. when it could be all said and done. But we'll wait and see what happens. So it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a good matchup. Obviously, Miami's going to want revenge on their mind because they kind of got embarrassed in Buffalo a couple of weeks ago. Now, if they win, yay, good. If they lose, though, tough way to go out. Bad Dolphins. And we'll have to. It's going to be a pretty long off season. So nothing more to say. Florio, good luck on Sunday. See you on the other side. That's all I'll say. It's all yours.
Oh, that doesn't sound good. I mean, hearing that they're going to be wearing those throwbacks. Oh boy, that's not good news. We didn't need a miracle there. That's all I can say. Now I'm praying for an even bigger miracle. So all right. Let's see. Oakland Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers coming up. Of course, for the Chargers, I mean, the Raiders are out. We know that. Chargers are 8 to 9.5 point favorites going in. By the way, Andrew Cannelon and James Lofton will be calling that Buffalo and Miami game, and we're going to be getting that game on our CBS affiliate, CBS WPRI 12. And Chicago and Minnesota is going to be on Fox Providence. So Kevin Harlan and Rich Gannon will have it. Chargers 8 to 9.5 point favorites, like I said, and Chargers basically trying to play the way in. They met in Oakland, and the Chargers won 17-16 back on October 15. So Oakland leads the all-time series now, 62-51 with 2 ties, and this will be their first ever meeting at the StubHub Center. But the Raiders won there last year, 1916. Chargers last beat them at home. Well, actually, the Raiders have won the last couple times in San Diego. Chargers last beat them at home in 2014. That was a 13-6 win. 2015, Raiders won 37-29, and last year Raiders won 1916. So now I don't know the exact scenario. MF's going to have that, but I'm going with the Chargers to win that game. I just don't see how the Raiders can steal one in StubHub Center in Carson. I mean, hey, they took Philly to the limits Monday night. I'll give them credit for that, but Philip Rivers has been white hot at home lately. They got tripped up by Kansas City, but I got a good feeling about this one. So I think the Chargers will win. I think it'll be a good game. I say maybe 31-24. Chargers win. So nothing for me to say. So MF, what's the scenario for the Chargers to get in? I mean, it's basically a win, and I know they're going to need some help.
They're going to need a lot of help. For the Chargers to get in, they're going to need a lot of help. But there is 3 scenarios that they can do. However, they're not easy. They're going to need to win their game, and then they're going to need a combination of either Tennessee to lose and Buffalo to lose, or a Tennessee loss. And this one's actually possible. This one's actually more doable. Tennessee loss, a Baltimore win, and a Charger win, and the Chargers are in. And the final scenario is a tie, a Tennessee loss, and a Buffalo loss or tie. So basically, the biggest caveat is Tennessee has to lose to Jacksonville. And on top of that, either or, if Buffalo loses to Miami or if Baltimore knocks off Cincinnati, the Chargers are in. The Chargers get through. Quickly, for Buffalo, for them to get in, they need obviously a win and and they need either. They would actually need either a Baltimore loss, or they would need the Chargers to lose or tie, and the Tennessee to lose or tie. So either scenario would be fine, but the biggest one and the best one for Buffalo is the win, and then have the Bengals some way somehow knock off the Baltimore Ravens. If that happens, Buffalo is in. So, but I think the Chargers will win. They'll beat the Raiders. Nothing more to say. Mike Bullock, it's yours.
Bullock, are you with us? I think we might have lost him. All right. The Raider Charger game actually came in at number 4 in the list. A couple weeks ago, ESPN wrote about how the Chargers were better than their record, and now at 8-7, it still holds true. What's interesting about LA on the AFC side is that despite needing a win at Week 17 and help elsewhere to get into the playoffs, the Chargers are possibly the biggest threat to the Patriots and the Steelers in the conference. FPI believes the Chargers are 5 points above average a game and the 7th best team in football going forward. Of course, they'll still probably be underdogs on wildcard weekend if they make it in because they'll be on the road. So that's really all there is to say on that. So with that being said, let's get into now. MF, does Kansas City and Denver have any implications or no?
No implications whatsoever.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with Kansas. I'm gonna. Now I don't know how that's gonna go. I don't know if Casey's gonna be playing their starters or what.
I haven't heard anything about Casey playing starters, so I'm gonna say no. But because of the fact of that, I would still go with Kansas City because I got no faith in Denver whatsoever.
Yeah, same here. Even though Denver is a 3 to 3.5 point favorite, I gotta go KC. I believe. Now I know they met earlier this year. Yeah, that was on October 30th. That was on a Monday night in Arrowhead, and Kansas City won 29-19. And Kansas City leads the all-time series 60-54 when you include that win at Arrowhead. Kansas City won in Denver last year, that wild Sunday night game. MF, you remember we had a Thanksgiving weekend last year, that wild and crazy Sunday nighter, which KC won 30-27 in OT. Broncos last beat the Chiefs at home in 2014, I believe. Yes, 2014, 24-17. Chiefs won there in 2015, 29-13, and then that wild one in Denver last year. So that's the story there. I got KC winning as well. So I believe it's on the NFC side of the 425 ledger. Now, does San Fran and the Rams officially, is that that's officially a no implication game? MF?
I do not see any implications for the Rams, so no. This is now deemed, yes, this is deemed a no implication game.
Very good. Okay. I think we've covered pretty much everything else, but there are a couple more 425 matchups on the NFC side. I think Carolina and Atlanta is the biggest of them, but for some odd reason, FPI has New Orleans and Tampa as the game of the week. For what reason, I do not know. I don't think it is the game of the week in any matter. So, but let's actually let's start with Arizona and Seattle. Arizona and Seattle. the high leverage game of the week, by the way. And let's get a look at what the now Seattle's actually still in the hunt.
Yes, they are.
Believe it or not. But they're gonna need to win and get a lot of help. They met on November the 9th in Arizona, and Seattle came away with the win, 22-16. Last year in Seattle, Arizona came away with a win on Christmas Eve last year, 34-31. Matter of fact, Arizona's won the last two meetings in Seattle, 2015, 39-32 on a Sunday night. 2014 was the last time Seattle beat Arizona at home, 19-3. And the series' history is even. We're even, 18-18. So the winner will take the lead in this series. And Seattle, 9.5 to 10.5 point favorite. Off of a huge to 12, I believe was that final. And we're going to have Chris Myers, Daryl Moose Johnson, and Laura Oakman on the call. So I got to go with Seattle. I just think in front of the 12th man, the whole 9 yards, with seeing that they're still in the hunt.
Well, Anthony, I'm just going to...
What?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm sorry. I guess it glitched out on me or something. If you were asking what Seattle needs to do to get into the postseason, it's basically win, and they need Atlanta to lose. Just a combo. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. Basically, a Seattle win and an Atlanta loss against Carolina, and Seattle goes to the playoffs. I do believe they'll get it. I do believe they'll win it. But there's really nothing more than that. So, on to the next game, kid.
Yeah. I did forget to mention. Well, I mentioned it was the high leverage game of the week, but I didn't go into the notes about it. But New Orleans and Tampa Bay, for some odd reason, is still is the game of the week according to the FPI. For the life of me, I don't understand why. But New Orleans and Tampa, that's what we'll get into next. So, MF, what's the implications for New Orleans? I understand. I mean, I believe they've won the South. Now, all they have to do is
No, they have not won the South. It's not over. That's why. That's why it's the high. It's the big one, because if New Orleans wins, they win the division. If they lose the game, they actually open the door for Carolina to win it. So this actually is not over. This is not a open and shut case yet. New Orleans would have to win, or a Carolina loss, or if both teams end in a tie. If Carolina ties and New Orleans ties, then New Orleans wins the division. So no, this is not over. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But yeah, without a doubt, I think New Orleans wins. Anthony, it's yours.
All right, I have my notes for Arizona and Seattle. I only have notes for the games, the top games, not counting Dallas and Philly, which still came in at number 3, which I don't understand. But for Arizona and Seattle, I mean, you may have heard Seattle's banged up. Most notably, they've been playing without Richard Sherman and Cam Chancellor since week 11. And how much of an impact has it had? In the passing game alone, Seattle's defense is adding about 0.09 expected points per play less since week 11 compared with how it performed before that. It roughly translates to about 3.5 points a game. Quite significant. Is it all because of Sherman and Chancellor? Tough to say, but it's pretty clear the injuries mattered a good bit. Now, as far as New Orleans and Tampa is concerned, as I wait for my notes to come up on this one. I thought that win with their last win. So with that win over Atlanta. So the help of a decent defense and an excellent ground game has helped buoy an always excellent Saints aerial attack and make New Orleans a Super Bowl contender. While the combination of Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara has been excellent in terms of efficiency, the Saints have been much better off with the ball in the rookie's hands. The Saints offense has added .04 expected points of play on Ingram rushes, the equivalent of about the fourth best rushing attack this season. But when it's Kamara doing the running, that number has jumped to 0.25 expected points of play. Granted, Kamara has more than 100 fewer rushes than Ingram, but he's been remarkably efficient when he has run the ball, and that isn't even mentioning what he's done in the receiving game. So, yeah, that's something we need to make a note of. This game's at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. New Orleans, I believe they control their own destiny when it comes to the division. I believe if they win this game, they will win the NFC. They will officially win the NFC South, and I believe, and then they'll need for Minnesota to lose to Chicago. But then again, even if Minnesota loses to Chicago, Minnesota will still have the advantage over New Orleans because remember, Minnesota beat New Orleans opening night on that opening Monday night doubleheader. New Orleans 6.5 to 7.5 point favorites, and I don't see how New Orleans can lose this game. I mean, they're playing for the division, playing for high seeding, and I got to go with New Orleans. I mean, Tampa, I have no faith in Tampa whatsoever. But I believe in New Orleans, and this is the best New Orleans team I've seen maybe since that Super Bowl team in 2009 that went all the way. So I'm going with New Orleans to win that one as well. So on to the game that I consider the game of the week, if you really think about it. The Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons occasions in this. Carolina still has a shot at the division because they're tied with New Orleans. They need to win and hope New Orleans gets tripped up by Tampa. And if that happens, then Carolina will take the South and really changes the complexion of the NFC playoff picture. Trying to stay alive. They need to win, and I know they're going to need some help, and I know MF will get into those scenarios in just a moment. But as far as New Orleans and Tampa Bay is concerned, Tom Brenneman and Chris Spielman will be on the call with Peter Schrager. The Kansas City-Denver game will be called by Beth Mowins and Jay Feely for CBS in Denver. And for Carolina and Atlanta, this is Fox's America's Game of the Week, which means, that'll be Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Aaron Andrews at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So at number 2, when I think this game really should be number 1. With 2017 almost gone, can we measure the Kyle Shanahan effect? Sort of. Have the Falcons been worse on offense than they were last year? Absolutely. Last year's Falcons added more expected points of play on passing plays than any other team over the last 2 years, and behind only the 2013 Broncos over the last 5 years. The current Falcons rank 14th among the 64 teams over the last 2 years. The 2016 Falcons had the 5th most efficient ground game in terms of EPA/P among teams in 2016 or 17, while this version ranks 29th. But can we put that all on the offensive coordinator change? Almost certainly not. The 2016 Falcons were a major outlier. Any reasonable person would have expected them to take a step back this season. It's also worth noting that the 2017 Falcons have added more expected points of play via both the pass and run than the 2015 Falcons, for whom Shanahan was also the coordinator. In other words, the departure of Shanahan likely hurt the Falcons, but it's not the only reason they aren't what they were a year ago. This is the toughest one to call, honestly. I mean, this one can go either way. It really can, especially with the game being in Atlanta. And you know how tough they are at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And Atlanta is a 4-point favorite after all. So, and they met earlier this year. But, damn, this is tough to call. But getting back to the New Orleans and Tampa, I mean, I forgot to go over the history of that. They met on November 5th in the Dome, and New Orleans easily took care of Tampa 30-10. And they actually lost to Tampa in Tampa last year, 16-11. On December 11th of 2016, Tampa Bay beat New Orleans 16-11 at Raymond James Stadium. So Tampa actually does have the advantage in that aspect. But New Orleans won the year before, 2015. That was a 24-17 win. 22-19 in favor of New Orleans in that series. So that's that. And when it comes to the Atlanta-Carolina situation, they met in Charlotte, and who won that one? I think Atlanta won that game, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, Carolina won 2017. Same day, November 5th. I know that was in Charlotte, and Atlanta won that last year, 33-16. And Carolina Atlanta won their last year 48-33, and the year before 20-13, and 34-3. That was a divisional game. So, but I'm leaning towards Atlanta in this one. I mean, because they're at home and they won the last 2 years there. I mean, like I said, out of all the games on the schedule, this is the toughest one to call. But I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to go with Atlanta to somehow find a way to win this one. But I'm going to go. With that. So, I don't think there's anything more to get into. I'm going to say Atlanta wins 31-28. Atlanta wins. So MF, tons of implications for these two. Hit us with those scenarios.
All right. For Atlanta to get into the playoffs, either a win, a Seattle loss, or if both teams end in a tie, Atlanta goes to the playoffs. For Carolina to win the NFC South, you need a win and a New Orleans loss or a tie, or Carolina ties with Atlanta and New Orleans has to straight up lose. Anthony, here's one scenario you're not going to believe. Carolina could actually leapfrog over Minnesota and get the number 2 overall seed and get the first round bye. But here is the scenario they need for all this to happen. Number 1, and this is the only scenario they need. A New Orleans loss or tie, a Minnesota loss, and the Rams have to either lose or tie. If this scenario actually happens, Carolina Panthers gets the number 2 seed, they get the first round bye, would actually drop Minnesota to number 3. And it actually becomes a trickle-down effect. at that point because Carolina would leapfrog. They would go from 5 to 2. And then Minnesota drops to 3. The Rams drops to 4. And the Saints, who actually has the wild card, they would drop to number 5. That would be absolutely mind-boggling if that actually happens. So I'm gonna go with Atlanta 2. Nothing more to say. I don't know if I really want to do power rankings, kid. I mean, it's already been pretty late up to. Oh, we lost them again. All right, guys. So unfortunately, we've lost Anthony. I don't know. We were supposed to do power rankings in about a moment or so. I'm kind of probably thinking we might do executive order and call it a night. I don't know. With all these mistakes and mess ups and everything that's happening with our connections, I don't think Anthony's gonna want to continue on. So we do continue on, then we'll do it. But if we don't, then what will happen is we're gonna call it a night. We're going to wish you guys a happy new year. Hope everything's awesome. And then, of course, as you guys know from last night's show, Anthony back. Tony, I don't know. With all the connection issues that we're having and everything else, I might just call it a night and just say, forget the power rankings and just, take our chances on Tuesday night.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here. You went down all the scenarios for Carolina and Atlanta, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay. And who did you have winning?
I have Atlanta winning as well.
Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna call it a night. We lost Bullock as it is, and I believe this will only be the first time we're not doing power rankings this year. So I think we can get away with it for 1 week. I mean, we got away with it for 1 week last year. So what's 1 week without it this year? But we'll be back with it next week. So that will do it. We're gonna call it a night here. So we want to thank you all for tuning in, and of course, schedule for coming up Tuesday night. We're gonna have a special Tuesday edition of Ridiculously Raw. We're gonna review the first Monday Night Raw 2018. Enzo Amore, Cedric Alexander for the Cruiserweight Championship, Brock Lesnar in the house, and a whole lot more. And then Wednesday, a Wednesday edition of Cerebral Smack Talk. We'll run down SmackDown Live. And then Friday, we'll have our Strictly Sports NFL Friday, pretty much season finale here. We're going to run down the 4 wild card games. We'll also preview the National Championship, College Football Playoff National Championship, and then the final power rankings of the year. So that's it. We're putting a bow on this. So until Tuesday night, we want to wish you all a very safe and happy and blessed new year. Keep it safe on the roads. We cannot stress that enough. And that's pretty much it. Our shout outs are, the usual folks. They know who they are. So we're not going to fully go into that detail. So until Tuesday night for our special Ridiculously Raw, it's Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher and for Michael Bullock. And in spirit, of course, Didi Woodson and Derek Ferrer. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. And until Tuesday night, you've been watching this special Football Thursday edition of Strictly Sports right here on the Tone 25 and YouTube.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio. So long.